Sawadee krap. I'm Michael New, your host. Welcome to Thailand Today. The development of artificial intelligence, or AI, has changed the landscape of various industries, whether it's the creation of robots to assist with various facets of life, work, or healthcare. These developments have helped improve the operational efficiencies and augmented the work that humans do. In Thailand, this has also been the case. Today we speak to Assistant Professor Dr. Supachai Vongbunyong, Deputy Director for Academic Affairs, Institute of Field Robotics, on the role of artificial intelligence and robotics in Thailand. Sawadee krap. Thank you very much for joining. Appreciate it.
Sawadee krap.
Could you give us a little bit of background on how robotics have gained popularity in Thailand?
Well, in Thailand, I think it started long time ago. Yeah, we start from industry. So for sure, robotics come here for industry purpose. And for robotics, firstly, we're going to talk about the productivity, how to make the process, how to improve it to make more productivity, to make more efficient. And by that time, I think more than 50 or 60 years ago, even more, even before I was born, let's say. And by the time, I think robotics, when it started from there, and right now it's become more and more interesting, and it's become a lot of more applications, and a lot of robotics and automations become more useful in our daily life.
So when you mention industry, the first thing that pops into my head is, of course, the Industrial Revolution and steam power and that sort of thing.
Sure.
What is the difference between machinery and robotics? Like, how far back do robotics actually go, do you think?
Okay, I think if we talk about industrial revolutions, right now is number 4. It's the fourth industrial revolutions, or we call Industry 4.0. And if we talk about robotics, I think we come back around in the second or third industrial revolutions. And in the first one, yeah, that's right, is a steam engine. And the second one is become motor, and we can see a lot of production line that become automatically.
Oh, like the Ford Motor Company and their
things like that.
Cars,
but basically, if we talk about that, we can say that those are machineries that is in work all the time and work 24/7. But still, it needs to work according to the program that we already pre-programmed or we design from the beginning. But if we step into the era of robotics, we do the same thing, but robotics can do more complex things than those. So we talk about more advanced programming, a lot more advanced mechanical design, mechanisms, and that we can serve some specific requirement to do that. So that's become robotics. So if we talked about that number 3, right?
Yeah.
And right now is number 4. We talk about robotics, machinery, automations, everything all together. But when we come to number 4, we talk about data and how we can manipulate, how we can analyze, how we can use AI, and how we can use a lot of communication systems to get all of data and make use of it. That's the first revolution.
So in your opinion, what would you say were the very first robots, and what did they do?
First robot in the world, or?
Sure.
In the world. I'm not really sure about that, but from the book I read, that's we call it automata.
Oh, automata, right. Oh, like in the movie Hugo, where you had tons and tons of gears. So it was like a pre-programmed set of movements that it could do, and they're really complex, but it was all mechanical, and it wasn't programmed or anything. It was all built.
So I think the robot come from that originally. But if we talk about the robot right now in these days, we talk about like industrial robot. Okay, I mean industrial robot is some kind of mechanisms that can work by itself, right?
Yeah.
So we call it automated. Okay, so we have mechanisms, and if we put some actuators like motors and pneumatic systems, hydraulic systems. So for mechanisms plus these actuators and plus some controller, and with programming behind that. So all of this become a robot.
And of course, the brain of the robot, the AI, which is your field. How far have we come in terms of artificial intelligence?
We've come very, very far, basically, but there's a long way to go. Okay.
Like, what would you say we're capable of today with our AI?
Today, well, actually, I think today there's a lot of confusions between AI and robotics. A lot. Okay, so I think people mix up about these two fancy words, right? So basically, AI is just a set of programs. Okay, so this program can design for doing some behavior, and so if you look in your textbooks, there's a lot of types of AI that we're working for, and at least I could imagine something like around 10 type of AIs. But right now, AI is a set of programs that are already designed for doing something, and previously we think that AI is artificial intelligence, but we try to imitate the natural intelligence like us. But by doing that, we need a lot of resource and a lot of complex problem that right now we are not really sure that we can solve it, because we need a lot of powerful computing resource to solve it. So in this case that we try to imitate the natural intelligence, maybe it's not the case. But right now we try to do the AI. We try to invent, we try to develop the AI that serve our requirements, our activities, and how we can help some activities and help our life to be easier.
What are some of the positive benefits that you've seen with AI and technology, especially in terms of raising the standards of robotics?
Okay, firstly, I think if we talk about AI, we talk about learning capability. And we are quite get used to the machine learning words right now. It means how we can design the set of program to give the ability the robot or machine to learn something. Okay, it means that if we give the data set and if we have this program and give this data set to the AI and if we talk about data set, we talk about data and a lot of data, even much more than we can imagine. For example, if we talked about some problem like chess.
Sure. Deep Blue, one of the very first
things like
AI.
Things like that. So what human players do that, probably we come with some specific rules, okay, and we try to apply that rules to the games. Right, and when your opponents do some play and you analyze and think about that, but in the way that I think maybe something different, so it can explore every single possibility, okay, in seconds,
right?
Okay, so once they can do that, I think this is the key idea that how the AI gonna win over this game, right? So because the AI can get the current stage and have the pictures of the whole game. Okay, that's AI. And so that's become the machine learning. So if we keep training this game, if we keep training the AI with this data set, with this action, so AI can improve itself to be very powerful, let's say.
So its only limitation is really how fast can you feed it data and how fast can it process it. So I imagine as computers get better, maybe it gets its data from the internet or from all the other subsets of robots. Self-driving cars,
for example,
would be a good example there, I think. I remember speaking to one of my engineering friends, and he had said the difference between you learning how to drive versus a self-driving car. So when you learn how to drive and you make a mistake, hopefully you learn from your experience and you become a better driver.
Right.
But when a self-driving car makes a mistake, every self-driving car learns collectively.
Yes.
Right, like an iterative learning process, but because there's so many that they can take their data set from, they just get better so much quicker.
Yes. Things like that. And for example, for the self-driving car, instead of developing the real car and put the AI robotics inside, we do something different. We can do everything under the simulations environment.
Oh, of course, right. So you don't have to wreck your car every time you want to learn something new.
Right.
Let's hold that thought for 1 second. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of Thailand Today. Don't go away.
How much do you know about Thailand? I'm going to take you on a whirlwind tour all over the country. The northern region is ripe with nature and delicate art. The Isan region is the land of ancient civilizations, folk art, and the lively banks of the Mekong River. The central region is the modern metropolis that still retains the beauty of the Thai way of life. Finally, the southern region is for the sea, the natural coral islands. Thailand is ready for you to go on an adventure and discover all of its hidden charm.
Welcome back. You're watching Thailand Today. We continue our discussion with Assistant Professor Dr. Supachai Vongbunyong, Deputy Director for Academic Affairs, Institute of Field Robotics, on how artificial intelligence and robotics impacts our lives today. Previously, we were talking about self-driving cars and AI. What role does AI and robotics play in our daily lives?
Daily life, I think right now we can see a lot of examples for AI. For example, if you call to some call center, most of the time that you think you talk with real people, but it's not. So there's an AI. So we talk about natural language processing.
Yep.
That help the AI and with some rules and with some data back there and can process and can talk with you naturally like humans.
Oh, so sometimes the operator is actually just a robot.
Right. And I think many countries start doing that for many years, and people don't know before. Okay.
So all those people who stay on the line, no, I don't want to press 1 or press 2. I want to call the operator. So they're still just getting robots sometimes.
Pretty much. Yep. And something like if we talk about something with healthcare, for example, right? Right now we have some technology in Thailand as well that we try to find some drugs, some new drugs. So we call drug discovery. Okay. So drug discovery, instead of previously, we can test some drugs and to make sure that this one is okay to cure some disease, for example. And this can
medicinal drugs, not to be confused with the other kind.
Oh, yes, that's a good one. Okay. And so this one, previously in the lab, the technician have to do this one by one, and takes a lot of time. But right now there's some technology that you give these samples, and this one can expand to another 100,000.
Oh, you're talking
samples.
about the petri dishes, right? Where you'd put some samples and you look at the cultures grow?
The concept like that. But this one we can use instead of having this and do the brute force of everything. We can give this job to AI to analyze and get to the target much faster.
How much faster would you say an AI can do this compared to a human lab technician?
I don't have exact number, but I think more than 1,000 times.
More than 1,000 times.
Yep. Let's, for example, one day, how many samples do you think one biologist can test?
I'm trying to think back to my university days. 30, 40?
30, 40? Okay.
Maybe.
But this machine with specific AI, you can test it, let's say 100,000 samples.
100,000, wow.
At the same time.
At the same time?
Things like that. So it's like,
right.
That's it. but this one is very, very interesting, and and I work with some people in this field as well. So this one is an opportunity. And right now for COVID-19, for example, they just discovered some drugs with this technology. So I think this is very close, and how AI and robotics technology can help us.
Other than medical, what other sectors are benefiting from AI?
I think industry, it's a lot as well. For example, we have, right now, if we talk about AI, there are another technical terms that get in is big data, and something like cyber-physical systems, for example. So it becomes the industry 4.0 altogether. So previously, the robots and automations can work just from the program, right? Just from the program or procedure that we have pre-programmed. But right now, you can imagine the robotics and the process can self-optimize themselves. For example, today the demands, the orders come from the customers is, let's say, 1,000 bottles, for example.
Sure, yeah.
And tomorrow it's going to be 3,000. And another day it's fluctuated like this. And it's very hard for the people
right,
to
because
program it, right?
Right, you need a certain amount of manpower in order to handle, I guess, the max load. So you'd always have more people than you need.
But AI, artificial intelligence technology, can analyze this data, and at the end of the day, they know that if you want to keep the order, if you want to keep the production like this, with the optimal energy, with the optimal cost, things like that, what we're going to do, what we're going to adapt with this production line, this AI can do this.
So you've touched on a very interesting topic. Of course, with AI becoming so powerful, I'm sure there is this major concern that it will replace a lot of human jobs. What can we expect in our future in terms of this?
Sure, it's replaced for sure.
It'll just be a lot of jobs will be replaced.
But I would say that this is not the first time or the first thing that replaced something, right? For example, if we get back to long time ago, we use horse.
Right.
For transportations, things like that, and we have a rider, right? There's one career, right?
Right.
There's the rider is a job.
Right, like the carriage driver.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a job. But after that, we have cars.
Yeah.
So the car replace horses. So the rider, they lose a job for sure, if they want to keep riding, right? But the thing that we should do is, the rider should learn new skills to drive cars.
Yeah.
So that's it. So the same thing for AI and robotics. For sure, AI and robotics is not actually designed for replace people's job, but we decided for make sure people can live happier. Can do things easier, can be more efficient.
Yeah.
So the people, what they need to do is they just need to reskill and do something else.
The world's always changing. It's important to adapt with it and develop new skills.
Right. So robotics, let's say, is come to, for example, if you have a production line, with its manual production line. If you have robot, the staff or the workers should do something else that's more valuable. For example, right now, we thought that robotics can do a lot of things, but something like some sophisticated tasks, robot cannot do that.
So give me some examples of jobs that robots are going to have a very difficult time stealing. So for all the kids who are watching and thinking about what they should study in university, what are some areas they should focus on that will probably give them work for the rest of their lives before robots steal it eventually?
One thing that robot may take a lot of time from now is creativity.
Right. So talk show host?
something like that.
Pretty
Something-
safe?
Still okay. Still okay.
Okay,
You're
good.
still all right. Okay.
What about
so-
something like, say, like a handyman who has to go around and fix various things in the house? Is it very difficult for a robot to be programmed to do many precise movements like that and fix many different things?
That's a good question. Right. Yes, I think it's like that. So let's say if you want to, for example, hold this one. It's a very, very easy task for us, right?
Right.
Hold this and put here without having for a spill. It's very easy, right? But for the robot, what we need is the hands, the mechanisms, holding mechanism like gripper, and some force feedback from here, some tactile sensor, even vision system doing this.
Right.
And some sensors over here. There's millions
So
of
it might
sensors.
just be that it's too complicated or too expensive for a robot to get
To do that, to do
that
that.
advanced to replace that job instead of just paying whatever it is the salary is for that.
Right. And here it's become, it's mean that robot and people need to work together.
Right.
So right now we have the term collaborative robot, that we have a robot sitting here, worker sitting here, working together to do something. So the robot do maybe 80% of tasks.
Yeah.
And people do just 20% of tasks, but very, very hard that robot can do.
Yeah. So the
as an example-
creativity or the delicate aspects we can leave.
Right. See that.
Quickly before we go, where do you see AI taking us in the next 10 years?
10 years. Maybe we live happier.
Living happier?
Living happier. And as I say, the robotics and AI are not designed for replace us. So they are designed for helping us.
Right. So within 10 years' time, we'll be happier, hopefully.
So yes, happier. I mean, in a sense. Okay. For example, if we talk about economics, and right now we talk about circular economy, that we talk about the whole cycles,
Right.
from material stage, use stage, until end of life. So by all of this is mean if we can implement circular economies and we can optimize a lot of things, reduce waste, for example. So we would have happier life. Reduce waste, environment is better. Reduce job is easier. Do just job that valuable, and keep the job that's the dirty job, some very, very hard job, things like that. Keep a robot. So we can focus more on the thing that we like.
That we'll enjoy doing, yeah. Kind of
I
like
think we-
Star Trek, the pursuit of betterment, which is
Something
a
like
happy
that.
thought.
Okay.
On that note, unfortunately, we have now run out of time. Thank you so much, Assistant Professor Dr. Supachai Vongbunyong, Deputy Director for Academic Affairs, Institute of Field Robotics, for speaking to us about robotics and AI and its increasing role in Thailand. However, he will join us for a second episode tomorrow to discuss using AI to fight against COVID-19. That's it for today's episode of Thailand Today. We broadcast every Tuesday to Friday at 9 p.m. on NBT World and live on YouTube. I'm Michael New. สวัสดีครับ